Let's get to a critical meeting today at the White House with enormous consequences for the global economy. President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy going face to face in the Oval Office in a high stakes showdown over the debt ceiling. Now, the Treasury Department has already triggered what it calls extraordinary measures to prevent the U.S. from defaulting on its debt. Congress has to act by June or the country will breach the borrowing limit and crash the economy. Wall Street could plunge. The dollar would weaken. Millions of jobs would vanish. Can we not talk about the apocalypse right now? White House correspondent Allison Harris explains these major hurdles. Allison.
Good morning, Adrienne. This is Kevin McCarthy entering the Lion's Den, in this case, the Oval Office here. He's probably been anticipating this meeting since the president unintentionally did not mention McCarthy when naming bipartisan leaders at the top of his inaugural address. These two, very much at odds over the past 2 years, must now bring their parties together to avoid the economic catastrophe that the Treasury Secretary is promising if the U.S. does default on its credit. That's probably not going to happen, the apocalyptic scenario you're talking about, Adrienne. But Republicans are digging their heels in, saying that they aren't going to raise the debt ceiling unless Democrats agree to cut spending. President Biden says he is not going to negotiate, period, saying that Republicans are being irresponsible. The longer that this standoff goes, the greater the chance that this could weaken the nation's good credit rating. The president telling reporters his message to McCarthy.
Will you negotiate with McCarthy?
Show me his budget. Show me his budget.
President Biden saying that because Republicans still have not said exactly which programs they would cut. White House aides say the president will also ask McCarthy to commit to raising the debt ceiling. Democrats have latched onto the idea that Republicans would cut popular programs like Social Security and Medicare. The president even suggesting that the cuts are part of the backroom deals that McCarthy made in those tense moments we all watched play out to finally be able to get the votes to become Speaker of the House. Now, in the past week, you have heard Republican leaders say they're not going to cut Social Security, they're not going to cut Medicare, but that everything else remains on the table, and that does include defense spending. Adrienne.
Allison, we're waking up again to the headline about the president and those classified documents. So what's new today?
Another drip in the consistent leaking of information related to classified documents in President Biden's possession. Now, this time we're talking about news that the FBI assessment the White House counsel has previously referred to was actually a search that the FBI did of the president's private office back in mid-November when those documents were first found around the midterms. That search reportedly happening after the president's lawyers found a small number of sensitive files in a closet at the Penn Biden Center. We know that those materials date back to the president's time as vice president. The White House has repeatedly said that the president takes all of this seriously, but the president did brush off reporters' questions about whether he'd sit with the special counsel investigating.
Oh, I don't even know about this special counsel.
And it is worth noting here that we would not be talking about this today if the Biden administration had maybe been more specific in clarifying that that FBI assessment that they referred to was actually the search of the president's private office. Polling shows that Americans don't view the president's handling of these documents and this investigation as a major issue, but some could see this as an issue with transparency for the Biden administration, which has promised restoring transparency and integrity to the office. Adrienne?
All right, Allison, thank you for that update.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.